Our special events at Heritage Hill State Park today, but every day you can learn something about the history of our area.
Yes, Russ Weedy, who's one of the interpreters there at Heritage Hill, is joining us live near the Cotton House. Good morning, Russ.
Good morning. How are you today?
We're doing well. Now, the Cotton House, you have to explain a little bit about what exactly this is. Is this something that you're involved with on a day-to-day basis when you do the historical interpretation?
Well, I'm an interpreter at several different locations here in the park. We have 4 different themed areas. Cotton House is one of the areas that I do interpreting at, which is behind me right now. It was moved here in the late 1930s from a different location on Webster Avenue. And when it was moved over, they were excavating for the foundation, they found remains here of a soldier. So those bone fragments and the brass buttons from his uniform are interred here, right here at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Wow. And what a great story behind it.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about being an interpreter, of course, many of us think, well, what language do you speak? But what you do is you explain the history of the pieces of Heritage Hill, correct?
Yeah, so we're interpreting history for the guests that come here. So giving them a living history experience. We dress in period clothing. I'm dressed as 1941 right now because for Cotton House we interpret it for the year of 1941 when it opened as a museum to the city of Green Bay. So that's why I've got my suspenders on and my vintage tie here. So in the other areas we are back in the period for wherever we are. I also work at the farm area, and that's 1905. So then I also get to wear suspenders and farm clothing and a straw hat then too.
There you go.
So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, there are plenty of Memorial Day events and remembrances and ceremonies going on today, some of which are right there at Heritage Hill. But this is also an opportunity to participate in those festivities and also take in the park for itself, too, because like you said, Cotton House is one of 4 different themed areas that you have going on. Can you give us an explanation of what else people might see if they come to Heritage Hill as far as period time frames?
Well, our time periods that goes back the farthest would be our fur trade area going back to the late 1600s. We have a growing community area showing from the mid to late 1800s, and then our agricultural area, which does include the farm and Cotton House, which is early 1900s, 1905. And then we also have a Moravian church, and we have an education center here where we have activities too. I'm going to be reading the proclamation for General John A. Logan's Memorial Day order, which instituted Memorial Day back in 1868. That was done in Washington, D.C. And it was also known as Decoration Day back then. So I'll be explaining a little bit about how we celebrated and why we started Memorial Day, and also called Decoration Day.
Just an overall great teaching day, as we mentioned earlier in our show, particularly for young people. We're hearing people behind you, so obviously, crowds are building, which is great that you're going to have a good crowd on hand for this very, very special day.
Russ, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Have a great day today.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And as we were just talking about, 10 o'clock is when this all gets started there at 10 a.m. It runs till 4:30 for the different festivities and whatnot that'll be happening.
Time to go.
Head on over to Heritage Hill now if you want to get involved. We'll be right back.